how do we love our bodies? And I think so much of the work I do is about our bodies and honoring our bodies and leaning into our bodies. And a big part of that is healing that story and that relationship that we have with our bodies. Hey, Liz, thanks so much for coming on the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Of course. Okay, so I know we're going to get into all kinds of things as we go throughout this conversation, but I just have to know, like, boudoir is your zone. It's your area that you've specialized in, like niche down in. Tell me a little bit about how that happened. Tell me about that story. Like, why boudoir?
Yeah, if you're listening and you don't know what boudoir is a fancy French word that means a woman's bedroom. And what I do as a boudoir photographer is that I've created a safe space for women to come take sexy, sensual photos in order to feel more confident and empowered and more comfortable in their own skin. And about 10 years ago, I was a photographer. I did weddings and families, and I started hearing some of my photographer friends talk about boudoir. And I was like, wait, you got to be kidding me. People go in and take nude photos, sexy photos. But I was intrigued. So I signed up to take boudoir photos of myself. Like, I was the client, not the photographer. And I am not exaggerating when I say that I walked out of that photo shoot ready to take on the world, ready to show up in my life in bigger and better ways. Like, it was a transformative experience for me. I really felt something from it. And so I decided I wanted to offer other women that same experience. And I opened up a boudoir specific photo studio in 2018.
That's so cool. What do you think you walked away with the most out of that experience?
So I had definitely grown up as a girl, as a young woman, as a young mom, kind of believing that, like, there were some things good girls didn't do, right? Like, you gotta color within the lines. You gotta obey the rules to be a good girl, right? And I wanted to be a good girl, right? And so I don't have a rebellious personality. And, I grew up in a very conservative religious household, and doing something like taking pictures in lingerie or nude photos was definitely frowned upon, was definitely seen as like naughty, right? Women's bodies were to be covered, to be not be seen, right? So doing something like a boudoir photo shoot was really, really outside of my comfort zone. Not just like my personal comfort zone, but it was outside of kind of like the bounds of what I thought was like okay to do. So going into that experience and doing it anyway felt like I proved something to myself that, like, I could forge my own path. I could make choices for myself. I could do hard, scary new things, right? And that energy is what, like, led me to even want to be an entrepreneur and to open up my own business.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, I know. I don't know if you and I talked about this, but I did a boudoir shoot just shortly after I had my first baby. And I think for me at the time, it was this essence of I want to encapsulate the beauty of my body and like what it's done for me. Like, it didn't need to be a certain size. It didn't have to be a certain way. It was like, I've just birthed a baby and this is beautiful and wonderful. And I'm going to honor and take a piece of this. But I also think at the time it was also like partly for me, but I think there was also a part of like, this would be a really great gift for my partner. Like, I want to give this to him as a gift. And now looking back at it, I think I missed out on some of those elements and those moments of like, I'm only doing this for me. Like, this is not something that I'm doing as a gift or for anybody else. Like, this is just something for me to embody and embrace my body here. Do you find that is more of the clientele that you have, or is it like, tell me a little bit about like who are the women coming to do this? Like, are they seeking it for themselves or are they seeking it for somebody to give to somebody? Does that make sense?
I don't believe there's a wrong reason to do boudoir. Like, doing it for your husband, your partner, your boyfriend, like, that's great. Like, it makes a fantastic give. You're giving a piece of yourself. And I don't think you should apologize for that. A lot of the women come to the studio wanting to create a very memorable, fun, sexy gift for a partner, right? Some of the women who come into my studio are there for happy reasons. They just had a baby. They're marrying the love of their life. They're celebrating their 30th birthday, right? And then I also have other women who come into the studio for more difficult reasons. Like, maybe they've gotten divorced. They've left a domestic violence situation. They've had a loss in their life and they want to celebrate being alive, right? So there's a whole range of reasons that women come into my studio. It's interesting that you say you came in after your first baby. I had a woman in my studio yesterday who was there. She had had a baby 8 weeks ago. She was
Mhm.
still nursing the baby. She nursed the baby during hair and makeup. She nursed the baby while we were looking at the pictures. And it was the same thing. She wanted to celebrate like what her body had done, right? I've had women
Yeah.
come in after a heart attack. I've had women come in after a breast cancer diagnosis. So boudoir is about, it's not about fitting into a mold. It's not about, fitting into a certain beauty standard. It's not about looking like anyone else. It's about celebrating you, your body, and your journey right here and right now. And you can do
Mhm.
boudoir this year for one reason, and then do it next year for another reason, and do it the year after for a whole nother
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just in general, I think that, like you said at the beginning too, is like there's this element of boudoir that has what we think it's for, what the taboo parts of it are, like why, in society we can't let women's bodies be seen or it shouldn't be seen in this way. What are some of the misconceptions you feel like our society holds around women's bodies in particular?
So, women's bodies have been a battleground for centuries. It's because, in my opinion, women's bodies are powerful, right? We can create
Yeah.
life. So, because women's bodies are powerful, other, people, men and women seek to control them, right? You want to control power, right?
So
And
yeah.
so there I mean, women's body, it's like there's this dichotomy, and in, like, religious tradition, it's often called, like, you're either Mary or Eve, right? Like, Mary is this virginal, perfect, like, idealized woman, right? And Eve is, like, the evil temptress, like, sexual woman, right? And you
Mhm.
can't be anything else. You're either virginal or terrible and a temptress and sexual, right? And there's no
Yeah.
third rail. There's no way to be a good, acceptable woman who also has a body and is sexual, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we've inherited a lot of these traditions where we feel at odds with our own bodies, at odds with our own sexuality, or at odds with the power our body has for ourselves and for others, right? Like,
Mhm.
and it's when we can kind of integrate those thoughts and those roles. Can we integrate ourself? Can we integrate ourselves as having a partner? Can we integrate ourselves as a mother, as a daughter, as a sister? When we can start to reconcile and integrate those roles, I
Mhm.
think that's when we start to find self-confidence, self-peace. When we're at war with ourselves, when we're not sure if we're okay, if we're acceptable, if our body is wrong, if it's shameful, if it's evil, is are these that's when we start to have like self-hatred, self-loathing.
Mhm. For sure. I think something I've been wrestling with, especially like growing up in a very conservative Christian home, and then even now, like just watching the politics and the dynamics of like how our world is handling women and bodies and all of the conversations and the topics we could go down that road. But I think you're right, totally onto something in that sense of like the control. Like there's some element, like I had this experience probably about 8, 9 months ago where I watched the dynamics between, partners, right? A man and a woman married, and she was in this place of embodying her strengths and healing and supporting and creating this beautiful experience, and her husband, her partner, was protecting the space. Like, he was making sure that things were being attended to on the outside, he was making sure that the space was safe. He was just this like balancer. And I remember leaving there and thinking, wow, that's the most beautiful way to see masculinity and femininity work together. That women have this beautiful power to birth life. We have so many new ideas and creations. And I actually just recently saw this ad that was talking about like Ford. It was like, I think, a joke ad, but was talking about Ford putting out the all men's truck, and it comes without windshield wipers, it comes without rear view mirrors, it comes without, like all of these features, brakes, all these things that the truck comes with, that they were saying like all these pieces were things that women added, like women have invented. And I have a client of mine who's in the aerospace world, and she said the same thing with a lot of like NASA astronaut space exploration devices, like safety devices, were all created by women. And when she and I were talking about it, I'm like, women, I think, could think about the collective, right? We're trying to bring healing, and we're trying to bring this power to like all boats rise together sort of energy. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that women bring. But in order for women to really be able to do that, we have to have the protection and the safety of the masculinity to be able to do that. And I think that right now we're just in this place of unrecognizing that, or we recognize the power that women have, but there's like a fear around it. And so there's this squash of like, we've got to control the power, like you said. And I think in this, intermixed in this, like women birthing, creating life, it comes from a place of desire, which you tied to like that pleasure center and the sexuality. And I think so many women are ashamed of expressing and fully embodying the pleasure and the sensuality of who they are, what they are, their bodies. Like it's both a physical thing and an emotional thing of being able to express what they want and how they want it and what that looks like in both a physical form and an emotional form. So I'd be curious to see, like, as you've taken photos and you've walked women through this, like, what have you noticed shifts for them going forward? Like, how do they walk differently? How do they show up differently? How do they express themselves? Like, how do they embody more of that permissioning of themselves, like what they want and how they want to view the world?
You are so right that so many of us, like, we've been socialized to believe that we need permission to show
Mhm.
up and speak. To be small and to play small is the best way to be a woman. Like, if the
Yeah.
smaller we can be, the better, right? And like, what I hope a boudoir experience might do for you, is that when you show up and say, I'm here unapologetically, I matter, there's nothing wrong with my body. In fact, my body is a work of art. I don't
Mhm.
have anything to hide. That is saying to yourself and to others, it's a very powerful statement, right? In
Yeah.
fact, in my opinion, it's sort of a punch in the face to the patriarchy that says women can't do this, women shouldn't do this, good girls don't do this. Instead, it's saying, I'm here, I matter, you can't put me in a box. Um, and I think, there's a lot of ways you can do this. Maybe it's a nude boudoir photo shoot. Maybe it's going skydiving. Maybe it's sending that email. Maybe it's having that conversation, that difficult conversation that you've never had, right? Anything you can do to like claim this power that's naturally yours, I think will help you rise. I mean, empowered women are going to change the world, right?
Yeah.
This is what we know women are powerful. We know women are smart and have all the tools they need. It's just that many times we stay back, we hold back because we have these limiting beliefs about ourselves and about
Mhm.
what we can achieve, what we should achieve, what's good for us to achieve, right? And so my hope is that a boudoir photo shoot might be one small step towards claiming the power that's already within you.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like too, like a lot of that work has to be done before they get like, I'm sure that somebody who's feeling totally not confident in their bodies and who they are, all of that isn't probably the person that's raising their hand. So I'm guessing to do one. So I'm guessing that there's some of the work that's done prior to that. But also, when a woman walks into your studio, I imagine she's not like, cool, I'm going to totally get naked and I'm all in on this. Like, this feels really comfortable and hear me roar. Like, here's my body, like, take photos. I'm guessing that there's this like process that they go through and this like stepping into it's like almost like emerging. So, and I would say, I don't know, you probably know this more too, the stats of like women and how they believe about their body. I think a majority of women in this world, in this country, do not think that their body is beautiful. In fact, I talked to a client recently and we were talking about doing some mirror work and around like, just loving on herself and her body. And she was like, I've tried to do it totally nude, like standing in front of a mirror, and there's absolutely no way. Like, I just can't. And so we talked about like, well, what if it's not standing in front of the mirror nude? Like, what if that might be way far down the road of like, I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't feel comfortable sitting there and staring at myself. Like, I don't want to do that. But where is that line that we can get to so that we can start in that place of fully loving themselves? Because I think that is at the core of it is how do we love our bodies? How do we, and I think so much of the work I do is about our bodies and honoring our bodies and leaning into our bodies. And a big part of that is healing that story and that relationship that we have with our bodies. So I know, so like I said, some of it's going to probably be stuff that's done outside of your studio. And then the studio helps it. And then there's stuff after the studio too. It's like a part of their journey and a part of their story. So what are some of those practices or what are some of those things like in those most intimate moments? What are some of the unspoken things that people are saying or believe about their bodies?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us have this inner dialogue, like, I hate my body,
Mhm.
right? My body's this, my body's that. And I don't fit into this narrow beauty standard, right?
Mhm.
My biggest tip is this. So we think like, oh, I just don't like my body. I can't look at it nude in the mirror, like that story you told, right? And so if you're gonna go from there to just like, "Oh, I love my body. It's amazing," the leap is too far. Your
Yeah.
brain will not accept, your brain will not believe, right? So as you're doing this work and as you're changing your inner thoughts, and the first step is to recognize, like, "Why do I hate my body? Who taught me that? Why do I believe it? Do I wanna keep believing that?" And if I don't wanna keep believing that, if that thought's not serving me, if it's not helping me reach my goals, how can I change that belief when it seems so real and so true,
Mhm.
right? And if you can go from, "I hate my body," to just, "I have a body," right? So just change that one letter from "I hate" to "I have." This can make a big difference. Once you say, "I have a body, I'm an embodied person." And because I have a body, that means I have arms, I have legs, I have a head, I have a belly. And you know what? What does my body allow me to do? I have arms that allows me to hug. I have a belly that allows me to laugh. I have legs that lets me walk around, right? Once you start thinking about your body and what it does for you and less about what it looks like, the
Mhm.
more you will get into the space that I call body neutrality. Okay. So if you're in body negativity, you hate your body, you can't look at yourself in the mirror, getting to a body positivity land it's just too far. You're not there yet. But if you can get to body neutrality, I have a body is a very neutral statement. It's
Yeah.
not good. It's not bad. I have one. I have arms, right? It's just a neutral place. This is where we start. And
Mhm.
because body neutrality will really allow you to appreciate your body for what it does instead of what it looks like. And then if you can get from body neutrality to body positivity, great. If not, stay in body neutrality land. It's a place of appreciation, of
Yeah.
gratitude, of mindfulness, of noticing your body and what it's doing for you.
Yeah. What do you think that, like, as a society and as a culture, we've gotten to this place where there's so much body negativity, right? We've seen magazine covers, we've like all of these other pieces. What are maybe some of the unspoken parts that you feel like have really contributed to why there's this like epidemic of women that don't love their bodies?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've even seen studies on this, right? And different
Yeah.
cultures, the way they approach female bodies is different. Like there are some I've read about some, like, indigenous people, and they interview girls about their bodies, and they're like, "Why would I hate my body? Like, there's nothing to
Mm,
hate." They literally don't even understand this concept because it's foreign to them because
yeah.
they swim in different waters than we swim in.
Yeah.
Whereas they interview my kids who've grown up, they're like, "Oh, yeah, of course, everyone hates all my friends hate their body." Like, we all worried about our weight, right? So it's like there are cultural ways in which women have been socialized into believing like a newborn baby doesn't hate their body, right? Like
Mhm.
this is a learned behavior in my opinion, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And of course if your body hurts, if your body gives you
Mhm.
pain, you start maybe to why does my body hurt all the time, and you feel that resentment, but I think the first thing to do is to note, like, why do I think this? Where did I learn that? Where's this coming from? Did someone tell me this? Did I just absorb it from TV, movies, and magazines? And do I believe it? Do I
Yeah.
believe I have to be smaller to be better? Do I believe that my XYZ about my body is wrong or bad? Or do I not really believe that, but I've just thought that a lot? A belief is just a thought you've thought lots of times, right?
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
repetition that turns a thought into belief, so you can just start thinking a different thought and create new beliefs about your body. You can start today.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's one of the things, like, for me personally in the last, I don't know, couple years has been just really questioning a lot of the beliefs of why I believe something and why that's there, and I've had really tough conversations with some of my family members and some of my friends. Almost in the sense of, like, now I feel like I'm out, like, zoomed out a little bit and looking down on, okay, why do we act this way about this? And why do we behave about this? It's like just asking those questions about, well, what if? And I remember I recently had a conversation with a family member and I said, I get it. Like, this is the belief that you have, but what if we zoomed out and said that that belief wasn't correct and that it's the opposite of that that's the correct? And how can we hold the duality of both of those thoughts at the same time? then we realize, oh, we've got so much more freedom than we thought we did because we're not controlled by those thoughts or controlled by those beliefs. And I think it really takes some practice and it takes some time to really zoom out and be able to do that. And I'm sure that there's plenty of beliefs still in my life where I haven't done that and I'm still in the process of doing that. But I think this is one of them. I actually had the question I posted about like why do we assume that women, or why do women need to shave their legs, or why do women shave their armpits, or why do, like where do these come from? And some of them were basically ploys because of marketing, like marketing companies like Gillette and all these things. Like they decided they wanted to sell razors to not just men for shaving their face, but they wanted to be able to sell them to half the other population too, and like how they really leaned into that to make beauty this thing that we had smooth skin and all these things, like really just starting to dive in and question what those beliefs are. What do you feel like some of your biggest belief shifts have been over the time that you've been in this boudoir space?
Well, certainly opening a business was a big leap for me. When I opened
Yeah.
a business, I didn't know any other entrepreneurs and I didn't know any women who were running businesses. Everyone in my life was either had like a corporate job, like a 9 to 5, or maybe they were a lawyer or a teacher, or they were stay-at-home mom, or like I didn't know anyone who was running their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now I do. Now I know lots of like boss babes doing stuff, right? But it was a big like, I was like, "You can't just like I can't just like start something. Like, I don't know what I'm doing,"
Mm.
right? And that, the idea that like every business you walk around, every small business in your town, it's just someone who decided to start it, right? Like they
Yeah.
just decided, right? And so I felt like I needed permission from
Mm-hmm.
somebody or somewhere. I was like, "Isn't there some like licensing board here or something?" Like, turns out anyone can start a business, you know? Um, and so I had to really like think about that. Like, what did it mean to be self-employed and to be a woman? And I have definitely also noticed like people come in and they're really nervous to show me their body. And I'm like, you know what? I have seen it all.
I've seen them a lot.
um, mhm. And like, it doesn't weird me out at all. They're like, oh, do I
Yeah.
need to wear nipple covers? I'm like, well, if you want to in your photos, you can, but like, certainly not for me. You know what I mean? Like, I have
Yeah.
seen all the bodies. And I really true like sexy is not a size, right? Like being thinner doesn't make you sexier. Sexy is a confidence, is an attitude, it's a swagger, right? And yet we place so much importance on losing weight and being thin and being skinny and all that. And I just think it's overrated.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually saw a video recently that was like a social media reel that was of a woman who was significantly overweight and said something along the lines of like, when I feel confident, when I feel ready, when I feel whatever. Like she had she was playing the narrative in her head when she felt that way. And then it showed her having lost like 200 pounds and then holding those same beliefs there. And I think it just goes to show like whether it's money, because I've heard the same thing, right? When somebody wins the lottery, doesn't change your spending habits. It doesn't change the way you feel or believe about money. And so oftentimes lottery winners lose all that money or whatever it might be, that it really isn't an external thing. It's the internal piece that we have got to change first in all of it, whether it's our confidence, whether it's money, whether it's relationships, whether it's whatever. It always starts with this internal work and this internal process. And yet, so many of us are focused on, like, how do I change only the external? And then we focus on the lack of that which we want. And it almost like it just perpetuates it even more.
Yeah. If you hate your body now, when you lose weight, you'll still hate your body unless you do something about it because bodies are weird and bodies have skin and
Yeah.
bodies have marks and things, and so you can always find something to hate about your body at any size.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've had women who come in who weigh 98 pounds who still hate their bodies and think they're fat. Like, you it's there's so much internal monologue going on
Mm-hmm.
that is not actually related to any kind of metric, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, I mean, that's the thing about thoughts, right? Like, I think we so often think our thoughts are reality and fact. And in fact, your thoughts are malleable and you can change what you think and you can change your beliefs and you can change your paradigm, right? And
Yeah.
that can change your behavior, changes the results you get in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, it always starts back to the thoughts. So I would love to know, like, what has been one of your favorite boudoir experiences, like, as the photographer? Like, what's one story, one moment, one memory, like, client that really I either A, solidified in, like, "This is why I do what I do," or just, like, stands out to you in some way?
I always tell the story of Sarah,
Mm.
and I have permission to share her story. She was a young mom with 2 sons when she had a sudden massive heart attack in the middle of the night, and they managed to call 911, and in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, she literally died and was revived and brought back to life. And over the course of the next few months to save her life and bring her back to health, she had, like, multiple surgeries on her torso, scars up and down her torso, right? And on the 1-year anniversary of her heart attack, she decided she wanted to be with me in the studio on that day to celebrate. And she wanted to take nude photos that showed her scars. She didn't want them photoshopped out. She didn't wanna hide from them. She wanted to show them. She's like, "These are my trophies of being alive. I am
Yeah.
alive, and it's a miracle that I'm here." And the reason I tell that story is because you don't have to have a heart attack to understand the miracle that it is that you are alive and that you have a body, right? You also feel like you wanna celebrate your body and take nude photos, and you don't need Photoshop, and you can love because you're alive, and that's beautiful and a miracle in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I was talking with my clients this morning about this like heck yes energy of what if we woke up every single day being like, heck yes, I get to do this. I get to be here. I get to be alive. That if we just embodied that just like, "Ooh, it feels so good." Like, "Heck yes." Like, "This feels amazing." Like, how much different our lives would be if we embodied that type of energy every single day. And I know my husband has been going through some job transitions and even just going back to the same idea, we had the conversation. I was like, "Dude, if you go from this job that you hate and is miserable and is sucking the life out of you know that it's all on you that when you go to this new job and you go somewhere else that it's you that needs to do the work that the environment that you're in definitely plays a role of it but anybody can make any environment a great experience or not so great experience and so like how do you take ownership of that and know that it's like you and like you get the opportunity every single day to wake up like having him he has had a brain tumor and so we've gone through this like experience of you don't know that tomorrow's coming. Like your client, like you could go to sleep tonight and never wake up the next day, or you may, car accident or whatnot. I even had the moment like the other night, I was like snuggling with my kids, and every night I'm like, they drive me nuts when they just like drag out bedtime. I'm like, I'm in bed. Please go get back in your bed. I want to go to sleep. And I had this moment, I think it was yesterday actually, where I was driving and I thought, gosh, my kids are to that point where, like, what if they're with somebody else and there's a car accident? Or what if something happens and they're gone? Like this that was the last time I ever got to see them or ever got to hold them or ever got to like it's gonna make me emotional just thinking about it. Like that moment, like how many times do we live like that? Do we live with that moment of like, I'm here and I get to be here and I get to hold them and I get to hug them and like yet, how many of us are just, like, rushing through the day, like, trying to get them to the school line or trying to get their lunches made or trying to get the laundry done or, like and yet it's that presence, like you said, like, celebrating, "You're here right now, and that's a gift." Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the kinda energy if we can live that way, that's how we
Mhm.
live in gratitude, that's how we live in the moment, right? We all know that living mindfully, enjoying what we have right now, like, all we have is the present moment, right?
Mhm.
So, when we live in the past, that's history, living in the future worrying
Yeah.
about the future, it's not here yet, but we have the present, we have this moment, and that's all we have, really.
Yeah. Okay. So, I would love to know, like, what has Boudoir taught you about business? And being a business
Mm.
owner because I mean,
So
I know you're a business owner, but there's also this element of like the boudoir and the intimacy and the confidence and all that. So like, how have they weaved together for you? What have they taught
running a
you?
boudoir running a boudoir business is an interesting one. It's still a very taboo industry in many
Mhm.
ways, right? I have gotten kicked off Google and Meta and Instagram 1,000 times because they don't like what I say and what do my pictures look like, right? There's certain credit card companies that won't work with me because they consider me an adult business. It's all kinds of things, right? And I've learned that for some people, boudoir is very uncomfortable. It's very triggering, and they don't want to see those ads. They don't want to see my website. They block, whatever, right? So I have to be very careful and very intentional about how I market, what I say,
Mhm.
how I show up, how I talk to people. Um, Most of my business is not taking pictures. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I do and I love it and that's the product I sell, but like there's so much around that, right? Like it's not just a transaction where like you walk in my store, I hand you a t-shirt, you hand me money and you leave, right? Like
Mhm.
boudoir is not like that. Boudoir is like you have to do your part too, right?
Mhm.
You have to show up with your body, get your hair and makeup done and pose for these pictures, right? Even if I want to create beautiful pictures of you, I can't without your, playing your role, doing your part,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a very like give and take experience where I'm creating the pictures, but you're giving me the material to create
Mm.
the pictures, right? And so
Mhm.
that means, it's a very white glove business. Like I
Mhm.
only have one person in the studio per day. And every person who comes in gets a lot of like prep materials, phone calls, emails, right? And then afterwards, follow-ups and stuff. So it's a low volume, high touch business, right?
Mhm.
And I love that. That means I get to really know women who come into the studio. They get to
Mhm.
spend half the day with me. I feel like we're best friends by the time it's
Yeah.
over. It's very different from selling widgets on the internet,
Yeah.
right? Where
Yeah.
you never meet the people who get your product, for example.
Mhm.
I mean, when my business cannot be outsourced to China in the sense that you and I have to be in the same room,
Yeah.
and that's great, but also you and I have to be in the same room to take the pictures too,
Mhm.
right? That limits also. So it's an interesting business to be in. It's
Mhm.
a fun business to be in. It's a challenging business to be in. It's a very unique business. I read a lot of business books and things, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's not for boudoir. You don't know how this works, right?
Yeah.
Because it has some unique things about it. Running a boudoir business, trying to my product, which is nude and sensual photos. I can't always use those photos to promote my business because
Yeah.
it's not acceptable to like the
Yeah.
the very product that I'm selling, I cannot use to sell it,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, it's been great. I love boudoir.
Yeah.
Oh, it's never boring. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that. It's never boring to run a boudoir business.
I wonder too, just listening to you talk, like there's so much I believe that like women were designed to build businesses differently. Like a lot of the masculine structures, a lot of the like you said, very high volume, just focused on production, focused on profit margins, like focused on a lot of these things that like some of it we do need to have in within any business, right? It's not like just masculine businesses, but I think you're touching on are some of these key qualities and key components that where you were kind of like forced into because of the industry that you're in. But I think that inherently there are these things like they're the same things I've been learning and leaning into of like I don't want a business that's focused on hundreds and thousands of people that are just coming through and I'm just cha-ching, cha-ching, here we go, cha-ching, cha-ching, here we go. It's the same. Like I want the relationship. I want to walk with somebody. I want to see what's happening. Like I went and transitioned my program from self-study back into a group coaching because I wanted to be with the people. Like I wanted to see their change and I wanted to feel what's happening for them and to be in this room and to feel like I was able to support them and connect with them. And I wonder if like hearing you talk and stuff, if that's not just part like too of how we as women were more designed to build businesses and that it's not just all about us operating in a CEO room by ourselves in a boardroom, just doling out orders, but that it's about the relationship, it's about the connection, it's about the tangibility that we have as people and human beings, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree with what you're saying. Like, I got into business because I wanted to do boudoir. I didn't get
Mhm.
into boudoir because I wanted to run a business. Does that make sense? So for me,
Yes.
it's people. It's always people first.
Yeah.
It's art first. It's beauty first, and then the business supports that, right? Like, if I didn't have my business, I couldn't take pictures, right? Because the
Mhm.
business supports the art. So I have to have really good business fundamentals like you're talking about.
Mhm.
Like I have to know
Mhm.
my numbers. I have to have the automations going out with the emails. I have to pay my taxes. I have to do
Yeah.
my books, right? But that supports what's ultimately important to me, which is the relationships and the art that we can create. I don't think I would be interested in running a business that was just like you say, just that I mean, I get the, like, appeal of that, like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
just sell this thing on the internet while I'm sleeping, the money comes in and then it goes out." I'm like,
Yeah.
for me, the joy of the business is being with
Yeah.
people, meeting
Yeah.
people, seeing them and sitting with them during this vulnerable moment. I mean, people really they put a lot of
Yeah.
trust
Yeah.
in me to do something like this, right?
Yeah.
It feels like an honor to be there with women.
Mhm.
And I mean, yes, I'm running a business, I'm running a charity, right? So I
Mhm.
charge for my services, but it's not just a purely transactional
Mhm.
experience for
Mhm.
me or for the person who comes in.
Mhm. Which, I mean, I imagine, like, do you feel like there's this, like, intertwining almost energetically with you and every client that comes in? It's like they've seen and trusted you in such a space, and that moment is like a moment locked in time, that there's a part of them that changes you every single time?
I mean, absolutely. I feel
Yeah.
like you can't spend every client that comes to my studio spends 3 to 4 hours there,
Mhm.
and you can't and typically, they wanna tell me a little bit about their story. Why are they there? What hardships brought them there? What happy thing has happened that they're celebrating, right? So, it's, like, impossible to spend 3 or 4 hours with someone and not get invested in their story and want to cheer them on and want to console them during this hard time or whatever, right? Like, I do feel like I get a new best friend every day,
Yeah.
and, I do try I have a Facebook group where I try to keep up.
Mm,
If people want to
mhm.
join, they can join me there and kinda keep up, and sometimes people will come back and report, "Oh, I had the baby, I got married," or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
fun to keep those longer ties going. And some people more than others, right? I mean, some people leave and they're like, "I never wanna I don't need to talk to that lady anymore," and that's fine, like, they drove across town to do boudoir, not in their neighborhood, so they could be secret, and they go home and,
Yeah.
that's fine too. But for me, each person that comes in, it's a unique, special experience for them and for me.
Mhm. So in this whole, like, conversation, we've talked so much about, like, the body and women and power and stuff, like, what would you say how would you view feminine power? Like, what does that really look like for you?
Feminine power. I mean, it's
Mhm.
interesting the way I think we all have some feminine and masculine in us. Like,
Mhm.
it's hard to be 100% either way in terms of like energy and power in that way.
Mhm.
But I think at its core, femininity is about creation. I think it's
Mhm.
about creation, collaboration. It's about building that village, you know?
Mhm.
I find I gravitate towards women who want to collaborate and not compete.
Yeah.
I'm not a competitive person, like, by nature. Sometimes it's even hard for me to, like, play a board game because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, well, we're all winners here," right? I don't have that, like, competitive bone in my body, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's, a little bit of I should get a little bit more competitive, I think, but, like, that's just not who I don't feel comfortable in that competitive
Mhm.
energy. I feel more comfortable when I can talk to people and collaborate and create something
Mhm.
together. Like, I tell my husband, I'm like, I think that's why I like to go to like plays or the ballet or something instead of a sporting event. Because when I go to sporting events, I feel so bad for the team that loses. I'm always like, why would I'm a loser, right? Like, I'm always like, oh, well, our team lost. Like, I feel bad. Whereas when you go to the theater or the ballet, like, or something, like, no one loses,
It's
right?
just
Like, we can just
beautiful.
leave.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. Like, we can leave feeling up. Where every time you go to a sporting event, there's this, like, uneasy feeling that perhaps you will leave feeling very disappointed, right? Like, I don't need that kind of energy in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think often I mean, as you know, I think feminine strengths are often downplayed. We
Mhm.
live in a patriarchal world where men are more often have more seats at the table, often have more power. And the traditional masculine way of doing things is often viewed as, like, the default or the best, right?
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
when we show up in new spaces, like, women haven't been running this kind of thing, women haven't had a
Mhm.
seat at the table, what they bring to the table can sometimes be viewed as less than because it's
Mhm. Yeah.
but I think I mean, we need more of this in the world.
Yeah.
We need more women sitting at tables of power, we need more women with power to bring that, like, needed balance to the universe, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That was actually so the collaboration over competition was something like a good mentor of mine. I saw a post one time and said, basically it's not like collaboration does not trump competition. Like competition is always the higher one. And he referenced to like people who've burned him, right? And people who have like acted like they're collaborating and then stolen from him, or acted as they're collaborating and then like done something else. And then his thing was like, at the end of it, it is all about competition. And it's I heard and I felt his point of view, but at the same time it just sunk in my body so wrong. Like there was this moment of I get it, and I understand that sometimes people are going to burn you, like that's just the nature of the way of the world and things, but I still at the core of it believe that the more collaborative we are and the more that we support each other and the more that we work together, the better off we're all going to be in the end. And I think it may come from this place of um, I don't know. I just like I feel like I'm so much more of like, how do I help the collective improve? And by me helping the collective improve, therefore I increase my lifestyle and my way of living and things like that. But it's all about if I showed up every day and didn't get paid, I would probably still do it because I enjoy what the impact that I'm having in the world. And I think it goes to that, like you said, those feminine parts. I think the impact of what I'm doing is more important to me than necessarily just about the numbers and just about the money. It's about who am I helping? How am I serving them? How am I changing the legacy and the changing the way women do their bodies and the way they see themselves over time, not just how am I making a buck? And I think that may be another piece of this feminine based kind of power in business that is so needed too, is like, how do we pull those pieces together as well?
Yeah, it is tricky. I've had some bad experiences too, right? Like
Mhm.
I mean, I one time had another photographer in my town tell all of her followers to go write bad reviews on my site.
Oh,
And I was flooded like with dozens of bad reviews overnight from people I'd never met and never worked with, right?
yeah.
Um, I've had people like take stuff that I've offered help them with and ripped it off and sold it as their own, right? Like, so
Mhm.
yeah, like I understand this.
Mhm.
At the same time, I guess like my deep belief is there's like in some ways no such thing as competition in the sense
Mhm.
that like at least in my field as a boudoir photographer, anyone can be another boudoir photographer, but no one can be me, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you wanna work with another boudoir photographer, she's more your style, she's more your jam, like, that's great, like, I'm happy for you. If what I do resonates with you, I'd love to have you. If not, like, go find someone else. Like, to
Mhm.
me, it feels like there are 9 billion people on this planet, I cannot photograph all of them. So, the people who are attracted to what I do will find me and wanna work with me and wanna
Mhm.
my services, and the people who don't, I'll repel them and they'll go somewhere else or not do it at all, and, like, I'm kind of at peace with that
Yeah.
in the sense that, like, even if another boudoir studio opened next door to me, it so wouldn't be my boudoir studio, right? And that's kind of okay. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. No,
Um,
I was gonna say, I think some of like what you're talking about is that like competition of like somebody going and doing that to your feed or whatnot. I think all of those actions come from this place of scarcity of like, there's not enough. So I need to sabotage somebody else, or I need to steal from somebody else, or I have to do something else. Like, rather than like what I hear from you is this like, I know the right person's going to come to me. And there's so many people out there, like there's no way I could photograph everybody, and so I'm just going to be open and know that those people are going to come to me, versus those other instances are operating from that place of there's not enough, so therefore I must sabotage or steal or impede on somebody else in some way. And I think that ultimately is probably the bigger issue, is that sense of scarcity.
yeah, it can be easy to fall into, like, I get
Yeah.
it, like, I mean, there's always more stuff to buy, and so it
Mhm.
can always feel like there's not enough money, but, like, when you step back and say we live in an abundant universe.
Yeah.
Money can be made. I've had to work on that a lot myself. I mean, I definitely grew up with a scarcity mindset. I grew up as one of 6 kids. There was not always enough to go around. There was definitely like my parents' attention was scarce, right? And so
Mhm.
you had to kinda like and so like I get that. And I've had to really work on that idea that like there is enough for all of us. We can I'm a smart person, so I can keep
Mhm.
creating, that I trust myself to continue to create rather than having to
Mhm.
rely on right, like, that I think a scarcity mindset creeps in when you feel like you have to rely on other people or other things to provide things for you, you know that you have the
Yeah.
power and the ability
Yeah.
within yourself, you can trust yourself, then you're like, "Well, I'm here, so we're gonna be okay because I can do this." Does that
Yeah.
make sense? When you don't
Totally.
have that self-belief,
Yes.
that's when there's that scarcity of like, "Well, I can't make any changes. I can't do anything, so if it's looking scarce, it's gonna keep being that way because I have no power to change that."
Yeah.
When you believe, like, I have the power within myself to create money, to create clients, to create a business, to create wealth, to create goodness, to create friends, whatever it is, then you're like,
Mhm.
"Well, if it's feeling low, I gotta just get to work."
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's like you said, like, it's outsourcing your power. It's like you've given your power away to somebody else. So
Maybe you don't even realize you have. It's just something you have to
mhm.
it's the power is within you. You just have to, like, dig deep and claim it, right? Like, I mean, I
Mhm.
know for a long time, I didn't feel like I had the ability to do a lot of things. I had a lot of limiting beliefs about what I could do, what I was allowed to do, what was available to me. "Oh, I'm just little old me. What can I do?" You know? And
Yeah.
once I started being like, "Well, I don't know," the whole world opens up to you when you start being like, "Well, I could start a business. I don't know, I could get more clients. I don't know, I could offer another thing. Let's
Yeah.
throw some stuff at the wall, see what happens." And that's, I think, when the scarcity mindset starts to melt away.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And it's like you said, sometimes it creeps itself back in and it's just like reorienting back to what can I do? How can I create this? Like where do I want to go instead of the limitations that we put ourselves in. This has been so good. Do you feel like there's anything else that we have left out that you want to make sure you leave people with?
Well, first off, thanks for having me and thanks for the
Yeah.
work you're doing. I love your mission, everything you talk about. I wanna say if you have something in your life that you've been wanting to do, like, you wanna start something, you wanna stop something, like, take that little, like, flicker of desire and just, like, go with it. Don't keep putting that in the back closet. Your time is now. Like, it's not there's no right time. There's no "I'm
Yeah.
ready." It's just deciding to do it, right? I mean, yeah, you have little kids. Yes, you're too old, you're too young, you're too this, you're too that. None of that matters.
Yeah.
You can do it now. It's
Yeah.
available to you. Take that first step into the darkness and see what happens. That would be my advice to you.
So good. And it's so true. Like, oh, yeah. So good. Where can people find you? I both in what you're doing and being able to follow you, all of those types of things.
So my studio's here in Chicago, and if you wanna take photos with me, you gotta come to Chicago. I'd love to have you, even if you're traveling for a weekend or something, but, of course, most of you listening are not in Chicago, and so come to my website, chicagoboudoir.com. Boudoir is a tricky word to spell, it's Boudoir.com, and I have a lot of free resources there. I've got an ebook, I've got some printables, I've got a quiz you can take, so come connect with me there. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, for sure. We'll make sure it's all linked up in the show notes and things like that. Liz, thank you so much for hopping on today. It has been a pleasure and so amazing. I think it is an area that we need to have more conversations around our sensuality, our bodies, like our relationship with it because I think it's such a huge foundational piece of how we show up in the world, how we interact with other people, how we operate our businesses. Like it's so important. So, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was great.